Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolebarger and it's time for our weekly KFIR Middle East update. And this is the week 5 of the year, which is the beginning of February. In order for you to get the full benefit of this, we encourage you to go to our website at holygroundexplorations.com and access the PDF PowerPoint. Many times we have much more information on the PowerPoint than we're able to get to on the short YouTube for the week. So with that, let's look at the headlines for the week. Khamenei, which, as you know, is the spiritual head of Iran, to no one's surprise, airs a Holocaust denial video on the International Remembrance Day. Khamenei has expressed doubts about the historicity of the Holocaust in the past. His quote, "The Holocaust is an event whose reality is uncertain, and if it has happened, it's uncertain how it happened." Again, peace partner will talk a lot about the rise of anti-Semitism these days. Netanyahu goes on record to warn Hamas about any attacks from tunnels will be met with greater force than was exercised in Operation Protective Edge. With that in mind, last week there was a disaster. One of the tunnels collapsed and 7 members of Hamas were reported missing, and later we found that they were killed in the collapse. Hamas has begun to rebuild the tunnels in Gaza and replenishing them with their arsenal of rockets as well. The tunnel collapsed because of heavy rain and flooding, and one of the quips from Israel is that when the IDF does nothing, nature does it best. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Let's go back to the quick headlines. $100 billion, that's with a B, not million anymore, it's billion. $100 billion has now been released, unfrozen. Iran now has access to it, and following the implementation of the landmark nuclear deal with the world powers. And then I just call this crazy. I could call it insanity. What are you thinking? But John Kerry has called Mahmoud Abbas, and he's stressing that he needs to end the incitement while praising the PA leader's commitment to nonviolence. Did you hear that? Praising Abbas for his commitment to nonviolence. The secretary is now asking him to tone down his inflammatory rhetoric. Like that's going to happen. It's just, it's crazy. It's crazy what people are thinking. BDS event in Colombia. The students are demanding that the university ends its investments in Israel. Their quotes, "We demand that Columbia University end its investments in Israeli apartheid. We call upon the Columbia community to support Palestinian human rights. We stand for justice." We've talked in the past about the rise of anti-Semitism on our college campuses, and we better wake up to what actually has taken place. Now, back to the tunnels. Gaza prepares for war. As we mentioned, the tunnels that were collapsed because of the rain were only a few hundred yards from the Israeli border. Now, tongue-in-cheek here, during the funeral procession for the Hamas members that were killed when the tunnel that they were working in caved in, the roof of a nearby building collapsed under the excessive weight of some overly zealous onlookers. Can you imagine? They're parading through the streets the bodies of these terrorists that were killed when the tunnel collapses, and as it's going by, the roof collapses. It's a video. We'll put it on our website that you can check out, the address of the YouTube. It's one of those situations that you have to, in a sense, say perhaps there's a message here that the Palestinians aren't quite getting. And then, as you know, we report sort of each week on the rise of anti-Semitism. A new poll in Israel reveals that 25% of Israeli Jews fear another Holocaust. The World Zionist Organization poll shows that Israelis worry about their safety while traveling abroad. At 65% say that they play down, they deny their Jewishness. 2/3 say that European governments are not effective in fighting anti-Semitism. And then another worrying number also emerged from the poll. 25% of Israelis believe that there's reason to fear that there will be another Holocaust in their lifetime. And 24% believe that there's a chance that the state of Israel will cease to exist in our day. The Golan Heights, when we get to whether we talk about the BDS or whether we talk about the settlements, these are the hot button issues of today. And so there's always this debate back and forth of what does Israel need to give up, this whole concept of land for peace. And so the Golan is always one of those issues. Just to make it crystal clear, the article coming from the Foreign Minister Director General Dor Gold told a gathering in Jerusalem last Sunday of Israeli ambassadors from around the world. He simply says, Israel will never leave the Golan Heights no matter what. And so once again, if you've ever been to Israel, if you've ever been up on the Golan Heights, you understand why that statement is true, why Israel could never give up that strategic site. I found this interesting as we wrap things up. The Facebook Nation, it's called. The most dangerous nation in the Middle East acting against Israel is the state of, fill in the blank. What do you think? The state of the Palestinians, the state of Lebanon, Hezbollah, the state of ISIS, the state, whatever it may be. The answer, it's the state of Facebook. And this, according to the former head of the IDF military intelligence. He goes on to say it has a lot more power than anybody who is operating an armed force. Unlike before, there's no longer an existential military threat facing Israel. Rather, it's a strategic threat. Yarlen said that there was not enough being invested in confronting the scourge of anti-Israel material, including anti-Semitism and incitement to violence against Israelis that are circulating on social media. Public Security and Information Minister Gilad Erdan, meanwhile, said the government has set aside over 100 million shekels to develop solutions to battle this social media. Once again, whether it's recruitment, whether it's incitement, it's all happening, in a sense, on your laptop, Facebook. And just to wrap something up, years ago I had the opportunity to be in the Gaza before it was handed over, the disengagement, and I saw the country of Israel really torn apart. Those that were anti-disengagement orange, those that were peace now, blue. And it was Ariel Sharon that basically said we have to have defensible borders. Maybe this will work. And so when we're looking at everything that's taken place with these, why doesn't Israel give up the West Bank? Why doesn't Israel give up the Golan? Israel did give up the Gaza. Israel did give up the Sinai. And in return, what did they get? They got tens of thousands of rockets. They got Hamas, a terrorist-based organization, as their next door neighbor. We've already talked about the tunnels that they're digging. What are they digging the tunnels for? To invade Israel. What happens if Israel gives up the West Bank, Ramallah? Do you know how the distance from the West Bank borders to Ben Gurion Airport? Can you imagine? Anyhow, I found it interesting that in the Knesset, you have to get the picture of the PDF. There was a sculpture that's now on display in the Knesset of a palm tree representing Gush Katif in the middle of the Star of David halfway through. And it's just serving as a reminder of the disengagement. It was serving as a reminder of the 21 settlements that were given up and the results of it. Just a reminder. Land for peace will never work. It's not the land issue. It's the existence of Israel today that's the problem. So that's this week's Middle East update. Again, go to our website at holygroundexplorations.com and access the PDF PowerPoint. And so this is Dan from Hayden Lake. And I wish you the best, and I wish you God's shalom.